And so we're back with Financial Now. What we're covering today is the 7 baby steps. However, if you are in South Africa, like we are, we're going to give it the South African spin on it. Now, with South African spin, it actually just means I'm going to give you the figures and what we're doing here in South Africa. However, we never changed anything, and we don't think you should too. So you're going to take us through the 7 baby steps. Have at it.
Great. So if you remember from our previous podcast, we spoke about Dave Ramsey and how we have followed his 7 baby steps. And we today are going to take you through exactly step by step what we've done. And like Brendan said, put a South African spin on it. So we're starting with our first baby step, which is save $1,000 emergency fund. Now, Brendan can put it into a South African context and explain to you further on how we did it.
So we have saved $1,000, and what we've done is we've divided that up. So Shireen's got her 10,000 Rand, and I've got my 10,000 Rand. That then, in turn, is 18,000 or whatever the exchange rate is, which then secures us. Again, there are always some, let's say, some points to each one of these points. So a little bit of, let's call it contingencies.
Yeah.
$1,000 or 20,000 Rand is not going to solve all your problems. However, we just had our geyser blow now, and nice enough that it was just the geyser timer, which is 600 Rand. It's not something we budgeted for. So that'll come out of the emergency fund. So these types of things are covered in the emergency fund, but if your whole car really goes up in flames, it's not going to cover you. It would be ideal. Again, we're not living in an ideal world. We're trying to get out of debt. Next.
And you know what? Just before we get on to the next point, Dave Ramsey always says that Murphy lives in your bedroom next door, and you can expect something to always go wrong. So that is why you need your emergency fund. Now we're on to baby step 2, which is pay off all your debt. This is the longest process.
So this is the longest process. What we do is Dave Ramsey's government's a little bit tongue twisted. Dave Ramsey has something called the debt snowball method. It's listing all of your debts from smallest to largest. You pay off the smallest one first. Now, you might say right now, oh, well, I've got this one, it's a 19% interest, or I've got this one, it's a 5% interest. It's not about what is the biggest interest amount. It's the lowest amount. You pay all the minimums on every single one, and you tack the next one with a vengeance, the smallest one with a vengeance. When that's gone, you got a sense of accomplishment, a sense of achievement, and again, you can then snowball yourself into the next debt.
Yeah. You get motivation the minute you see those debts disappearing off your list. You're more motivated and you work even harder to just knock them all out. So we're on to step number 3, which Brendan and I are currently in step number 3. We are saving a 3 to 6 months worth of income. And that is expenses, 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. So yeah, you can go on and explain.
So because this is the hardest one, especially for South Africans, I want to break it down. So right now in Johannesburg, if you literally have a 1-bedroom or a 3-bedroom, we'll put a 3-bedroom house in the suburbs, you're paying roughly 15,000 Rand in Johannesburg. So we're a little bit under that where we are now. And in Cape Town, it's 18,000 Rand. That's just what you're paying. That's your mortgage, or let's say rent, your home loan. Essentially, the average pay every South African has right now, your average pay is just under 24,000 Rand. That is not a lot of money. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to say, right, that's our mortgage or our home loan. This is what we get paid. Your car repayments. Right now, the average car repayment is 4,000 Rand, just over 4,000 Rand. And that's a 60-month with a balloon payment. Can you believe that? In South Africa.
I know.
I mean, we've got 2 paid off cars. I cannot imagine having my house, my bond, and a car repayment.
No, I can't imagine it either. You know, when you're in step number 2, you don't realize how much money you're giving to everybody else. So like Brendan's saying, a car installment, you're giving that money to the bank every month. You're not keeping that money in your house. Clothing accounts, you're giving that money to the clothing store for stuff that you purchased already. You shouldn't be giving your money away. You should be keeping it in your own house.
So if you've taken a loan out for a Toyota Hilux, around 575,000 Rand, your repayment on that is 10,500 Rand a month. And I can tell you something right now, I've seen a lot of Toyota Hiluxes, or Buckies as we like to call them, on the road today that are worth a lot more than 575,000 Rand a month. This is rising costs.
Yeah.
Something about South Africans is we love to look the part. And I think something that we've actually faced with and really dealt with is the fact that the name brand clothing or, that type of thing, it's not for us. I drive a Suzuki Swift. Because of your work, it's an X-Trail. It's the older Nissan X-Trail. And we really have cut it all down. We're not even mentioning right now that your insurances, your running costs on that, never mind your insurances, your health,
medical aid,
the medical, your food. So basic household food right now, a month is 5,420 Rand. Yeah. And that's with an average household of 2 children, a mom and a dad. That is really, really hectic. We're under that. So we're under all of those, which means we're following the process. However, we're trying to hustle for income. So our extra income and our our second and our third jobs that we're currently doing now, and we've got another one in the mix now, so stay tuned for that. That's not even covering school fees.
Yeah.
So this is the hard one. This is why for me, step 2 is incredibly difficult to claw yourself out of debt. But step 3 is the comprehension of moving forward into that savings.
Yeah.
How can you save when we're spending so much?
Yeah. What you also need to do is you need to get on a budget. You need to list all your expenses every single month. You need to make sure that you have a grocery budget and be realistic, because a lot of people maybe underestimate, but food costs are always rising. And, you might have an extra week in the month where you haven't budgeted for that week of food. So be realistic, get yourself on a food budget. And when Brendan and I go shopping, we literally don't buy anything that's extra and over and above chips, sweets, juices, any luxuries in the house. We don't actually buy it because it's not within our budget.
If people want to get on a budget, what do? You got to plug them.
If you got to get on a budget, you need to make sure that you put your expenses into your spreadsheet. You have to break down line item by line item. If it's a car payment, if it's food for the month, if it's school fees, if it's medical aid, if it's your insurance, even your banking fees, you have to put as a line item in your budget. Because, for example, my business banking fees are about 300 Rand a month, and I've got service fees. So if I don't include that 400 Rand or 400 and whatever Rand it is into my budget, I'm not accounting for that money and I don't know where it's gone. And if you don't know where your money's going, you have a problem. So you need to work out what your monthly expenses are, and then you know what you're working on in order to save a 3 to 6 months worth of expenses.
And to make it easier for ourselves, we downloaded the Dave Ramsey Every Dollar budget app.
Yeah.
And we talk in dollars. So we just, whatever is in Rand. So if it's 15,000 Rand for our home loan, we'll put $15,000. So it just makes things easier.
Yeah.
We haven't yet sunk it to our...
It's not really available in South Africa, but if you do it on the computer, you can just work it on your computer, but you cannot download the app on your phone, unfortunately, because it's not available in our app
Like
store.
we said, we haven't changed anything. We use everything Ramsey, and we adopt everything to our lives right now.
Yeah. We have seen so many debt-free screams on the Dave Ramsey show, and we truly believe in this process. So we wouldn't be advocating it if it hasn't worked for us. And we in step 3 at the moment, we still got step 4, 5, and 6 to go before we get to the final step, which is 7. And that leads us on to step 4, which is once you've accomplished step 3, saving your 3 to 6 months worth of income, you then have to invest 15% of your income into retirement.
So now let's say you're on step 4 and you are new to the Dave Ramsey program or the baby steps. Don't listen any further. Don't overcomplicate it. However, let's say you have bought this is a South African word, a skadonk of a car, and you're trying to get through step 2 or step 3. You can start saving. You can take the foot off the gas from step 1 to step 3. It's called gazelle intensity.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a lion chase a gazelle? That's exactly what you are right now. You are the gazelle. The banks and everyone who owes or is looking for their money is the lion right now. You are trying to do whatever it takes to be on the winning side of that formula. But if you get to step 4, what happens now? You can start saving for a car, take your foot off the gas. You can almost breathe.
Yeah, once you get to step 4, it's important to understand that the first 3 steps is just about getting your life back in order. Once you get to step 4, you've got to start thinking with intentionality around, what am I doing for my retirement? Am I saving 15% of my income every month? Because life is going to hit you somewhere along the line where you realize I've only got 20 years or 25 years or 30 years before I retire. And that goes very quickly. So if you can have your retirement at least going with 15% of your income contributing to that, you're definitely on track to at least having a decent retirement. You know, with inflation, it's very hard to make sure that you have enough money to survive when you're older.
Step 5?
Step 5, we then, obviously, if you have children, you save for your kids' college education fund. And I would love to be able to make sure that Sadie has a phenomenal tertiary education once she finishes school. And there's a lot of times where kids finish school and there's no plan because there's no money for them to study. And I would love to be able to say to Sadie, here's some money, this has been set aside for your studies. When you are ready, this is what is allocated towards your studies, without us struggling and taking that money out of our income every month. And I could send it to wherever she wants to go and for whatever she wants to do. So saving for your child's college education fund.
Perfect. Nothing more to say about that, because step 6 is next. And you've obviously in your mind, if you've listened to this, you've already had this conversation. What is step 6? Step
6 is pay off your house.
So this is where you might have listened to step 2 and said, oh, well, my last one, my biggest debt is the house. You're not paying off your house in step 2. So whatever you're doing in the debt snowball method does not include your house. Step 6 is where it's at. Okay. Step 6 is now you attack the house with a vengeance. You're going to put extra money if you can away. However, what we're doing now is we're making sure that step 6, everything is attacking the house. It's about the mortgage, the home loan, whatever you're working for right now, it's about victory on that side. So with the house as well, there are also a couple of, let's say, rules that if you haven't bought a house just yet, you are debt free, you have a 20% deposit, you've got to look at what works for you.
Yeah.
So if you have a house right now, you got to make sure that it is a fourth of your take-home pay. So you got to combine both incomes, and you got to give a fourth. Whatever your bond amount is a fourth of your take-home pay with a 20% deposit. If that is not working for you, your house might be too much. They've given you a little bit too much, and you don't have enough breathing room. That's where you sit. And let's say you've already made the mistake, and now you're sitting watching this video. If you have not bought a house just yet, you can prevent this mistake from happening.
Yeah.
So we were very lucky as well. We're just on the teeter-totter of that 1/4 of take-home pay. But right now we were very lucky in the sense that we had a massive, I want to call the word budget, but it wasn't, but a home loan that we could have used, and it was almost double than what our house is now.
Yeah.
And we didn't use it, and fortunately, I think it was just in COVID times where we were like, actually, let's pull the brake completely, and we got something that really suited us.
And remember, when your interest rate goes up and down and it fluctuates all the time, so does the bond repayment. So when you are in a position where the interest rate is low, it's great for you, you benefit from it. But when it's high, it can really put a strain on your budget. So you got to make sure that you stick to the rule, and you try and also take your bond over 15 years. Try not to do it over 20 years, because the extra added interest can just do a complete 180 on, figuring out life after that for retirement. You don't want to take something for such a long period of time, pay so much interest, have this high bond installment. It's just going to put a dampen on life.
And the last one is build wealth and
give.
So we are talking about building wealth and give, and I do love this one. I do feel that not only should you, give to the church, et cetera, but for me and what I love to do now is I also love to volunteer and do my time. And at the moment now, it's on the cycling side of things. So I'm not earning a salary from, doing whatever I'm doing with cycling, and have the really awesome and fortunate opportunity to be the team manager for our national team, now going to World Road Cycling Champs 2023. So we're off next week to Rwanda. And like I said, if it's a build wealth and give situation, put someone that can and needs the opportunity and give them the greatest opportunity that they can. So in a sense, you need to build wealth and obviously give financially, as well as your time, your efforts, and what you're good at and what you can benefit someone else for. And I think for me, that's ideal. And yourself?
And just remember that you don't, if you are going through the baby steps like we are, when you give, you can give in forms of time, in terms of food, in terms of any service that you're willing to offer. You don't have to do a monetary value added onto that, because we understand things are extremely tight. We live in a country where poverty, unfortunately, is very high. Unemployment is very high. But there's always ways to give back, whether it's donating to a church, whether it's servicing with your time. You don't have to put a financial indicator on what you are willing to give back to the community. So Dave Ramsey always talks about this really well and says sometimes he tips really big if he goes to a restaurant. Sometimes it's giving back at the church. It's just managing time. And it's all about making sure that at the end of the day, you get through these baby steps and accomplish something really, really great in life. But I'm going to say that it's a lot of sacrifice. So if you're willing to go through these baby steps and you're willing to apply this in your life, you will sacrifice, but you're going to be rewarded so well in the end.
As for me, in conclusion, I'm loving the process. I'm loving the journey. I'm very much a thinker. So I've got tunnel vision. I see this as a game. It's a really awesome game. It's a fantastic game. I love playing games and I love winning. I feel like I'm winning. I feel like it's hard. And at most times I kick myself in the head. Why am I doing this? Where am I going? What am I doing? How am I doing this? But the fact that we're together, we've made this decision together. If you have not made this decision and you have a partner, there's a huge problem.
You got to get on the same page.
You have to be on the same page. If you are not, try. And if you can't, there's something deeper that you got to figure that out. And that's for you to figure out. But right now, I'm loving it. And thank you.
You know what? Sometimes it is difficult, but we in this together and we are hell-bent on making it through the other side of this program and eventually being able to say we are 100% through baby steps 1 to 7.
Awesome. That's it from us. Great chat.
Wonderful. It's lovely to explain these steps, and if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments below. But have an awesome day.
Give us a like, share us, and we'll see you next week.
It's here somehow with Brendan and Shireen. Wow.